Welcome back. Now, the Ministry of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform, alongside its stakeholders, held a high-level meeting that is on the impacts of uranium mining in the Stampriet Transboundary Aquifer System. Now, this meeting comes after, or rather at a time when most countries in Southern Africa, including Namibia, Botswana and South Africa, have experienced an increase in natural disasters such as droughts and floods that compromise water and food security. Now, joining us on the line for more details is the Hartab Governor, Solomon April. Governor, good evening and welcome to Daily Roundup.
Good evening, ma'am.
All right. Perhaps let's just start off with you giving us an overview as well as the outcomes of this meeting.
Is that about the meeting we had today?
Absolutely, Governor.
Because I didn't hear you very well because your volume is rather too low. But thank you. I think the meeting for today was important for one reason mainly, and that is it helped us gotten a better handle around the mostly conflicting expert advices that we've been receiving. So I think it was one of the meetings that's long overdue. I like the composition of the meeting because I thought, from what I have seen present, there are all stakeholders that are very relevant to the in situ leach mining method that's a hot discussion these days in Namibia. To just get to the core of itself, we are blessed with the minister's presence, and we basically had this whole engagement balance on two main views: the position of the government and that of the investor, plus those who say no to in situ mining method that's about to be considered as the best way to do mining in the Omake and subsequently in the hard-up regions if the ministry is going to allow that to happen. So what basically went there in discussions was that the minister was absolutely clear that the government is not blocking any possibilities of development initiatives that are coming to the country, as long as such happens within the confines of the laws that are there to regulate such activities or initiatives should they come to our country. And therefore, the position of the government was that we are fine as long as we get an independent opinion which is scientifically reliable, and therefore from the evidence of science, if such method of mining is fine, the government would not be opposed or objecting to having the mining business start in with that method called the in situ leach mining method. That is basically the position of the government that also the governor from Omake and myself maintained in that discussion. And from the side of the experts, for the first time, we could find a balanced position in terms of expert views around and of course, experience-based information that we received today, and that was we had somebody from Russia that provided information and of course had projected realities of how mining has happened so far elsewhere in the countries and in other countries, of course, and then therefore their view is that such is not risky. Of course, in any mining activity, there is an element of risk, but what was amplified as chiefly risky and dangerous has been dispelled to a greater extent for those of us that are laymen and laywomen. So what we have decided and arrived at is that now that we've got these opposing expert views and analysis and information, let's have now somebody independent. And in that space, the Ministry of Agriculture has invited the UNESCO as an independent body to come in and help us find a position that all of us, both those that are objected and those that probably are feeling that this should be done, should find a common ground. And as I'm speaking now, there are some voices, I don't want to call them distant voices, but there are voices that were saying, we don't want this at all. There were other voices that say, but we want this because it will bring jobs and would change lives of people, and then people have better lives and stuff like that. So we are definitely positive as the government, but also probably what I should say before I say that one is that what I appreciated the most is the recognition from the side of the government, this time the Ministry of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform, that deem it important that such crucial and critical information should be shared with the grassroots people so that they can participate in things that concern them as people of this country. And you could see that that was highly received by those that were invited, and they definitely made sure they have utilized the moment that, or rather the opportunity that they were given to also contribute towards the discourse. So that to me was positive, the participatory approach that the ministry had allowed others also to have a voice in what is important for the country. Now, that being said, at the end of the day, what is now left is the UNESCO body must now go back, having heard all these things, having listened to the voices of everybody, and help us find common grounds by providing an independent opinion and or scientific evidence so that we can, based on that, then decide as a government whether we are going to lift embargo on the exploration that was stopped by the ministry so that we can start with the exploration process. That is basically, in a nutshell, what happened today at that meeting in Lapa or at Lapa.
All right. Now, Honorable Governor, as you have mentioned, you did engage, that is, community members and had some voices. What would you say, or rather just share to us the thoughts of these community members, and seeing that Hardap as well as the Omaheke region are one of the regions that are actually battling unemployment. Should we rush into this project, and what is the community saying? Are they excited, or should we take it a bit slow?
I think what we have arrived at from what I have noticed from the participants' contributions and the way they conduct themselves is that everybody is, of course, very excited because everybody sees opportunities for change for them in their daily lives, and of course conditions will change and so on. But then again, they were so much hype up, for the lack of a better word, to think that this is not going to happen because it's outrightly a negative thing, and it's not okay for the environment, it's not okay for everybody. But after having received this other opinion that we never had so far until today, I think their fears, the fears that were high, very high, had simmered down to an acceptable degree, and therefore what all of us agreed upon was we said, and I think that is what I have noticed also from the community members. All of us are okay as long as this is receiving due diligence, and that without rushing things, speed be considered, and what of the elements are probably to be possible to be expedited, but then other than that, to be slow and to get something concrete, something workable and positive is okay for the community, rather than rushing things and not having anything at the end of the day. So in terms of wait for a better thing, as long as, and that is what we have emphasized, if this is going to start today, it should not end. People must be kept informed, because what we have realized is oftentimes the communities are becoming impatient and intolerant, but also angry and frustrated because of the lack of information. So we have asked the community members also emphasize that they should be kept informed starting today about how are we going with this and where are we at what given time, so that in that way the waiting is justified, but not a waiting with absolute silence in the meantime. So I think information sharing will keep them poised in terms of patience now to follow the process until final results will be announced and will be available to the ministry for us to receive it. So slow is fine rather than rushing. That is basically what I have picked up from the participants.
All right, now talking about information sharing, what do you think the government should actually do in terms of information sharing and awareness regarding this project and others of the same nature?
One good thing about government in Namibia, the way it is designed, is that information sharing should not be a problem. The national government must simultaneously share whatever bit of information they are receiving with the regional government so that that should transmit it onwards to the other layers of the government, including the traditional leadership. As long as that flow through all these layers are being recognized and considered and used, I'm sure that information sharing should not be a problem. But if we jump some layers and if we become selective of who should receive the information and who should not receive, that's, I think, where the problem is. So the lesson today was, and that was also emphasized, like I said earlier, let information flow through the layers of government so that people can be able to know what is happening. So I believe that request has been heard.
All right. Now, perhaps just your final thoughts on this Stampriet Transboundary Aquifer System.
My final thoughts about this is one thing we should also not probably keep out of mind is that this is a resource that is owned not just by Namibia but by South Africa and Botswana. So whatever we do here, we should do with absolute due diligence and efficiency, so that other countries that would trust us in this process should not compromise the only resource that we have for people, for animals, and for the environment. So therefore, all I would say about this whole process is as much as we want to see life changed, it's better to take time and get to a better position rather than chasing and racing with things and ending up in a position that would be irreparable for us in terms of lives and livelihoods of people and of course the planet. So my position is it's a good thing, but let's take time and let's wait, but let's continue to keep people informed so that all of us can own the process that has started today until we are going to arrive at a final outcome. And I remain positive that UNESCO would, uninfluenced by any other sector, give us what is really scientifically reliable for us as a country to work with. That would be my final thoughts.
All right. Thank you so much, Governor, for making time for us here on the Daily Roundup.
Thank you so much, my dear.
All right, now that was Hartab Governor just giving us, that is, of course, his thoughts on the high-level meeting that took place today. All right, I'm being told that time has actually reached us here on the Daily Roundup.